Behind the scenes at Screencasts Online with Lee Garrett. This is MacVoices. Today's MacVoices is supported by Clean My Mac and the new Cloud Cleanup feature. Get tidy today. Try 7 days free and use the code MacVoices20 for 20% off at cleanmy.com/MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, I have a real treat today for you and for me, because one of my favorite ways to learn about new software and new things to do with my Mac and upgrades that are constantly coming out is Screencasts Online. And I am happy today to have the current owner of Screencasts Online, Lee Garrett, with us. Lee, it's great to meet you. It's great to see you. And thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. I've watched MacVoices for years now, since I first got my hands on a Mac. So you're definitely somebody that I've been wanting to hook up with. And here we are. This is a good day for me.
Well, it's kind of embarrassing because when Don sold it to you, Don McAllister, of course, who created Screencasts Online, it was like one of those, I got to call Lee, and it just never seemed to happen. And so I was so happy that we could actually, a little longer than it should have been, finally make this connection.
Yeah, the best things come to those who wait. And to be fair, you're very similar to me in that you have your corporate day, same as I have a corporate day. So trying to find that time is always difficult, but I'm pleased that we have, that's for sure.
Well, and then we spin in our time zone differences because I'm in central Pennsylvania. You're in London, correct?
Just southeast of London. I'm in a seaside town called Margate, which is in Kent, it's about an hour away from London, so not too far.
Okay, so in the general vicinity, let's say.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Well, as I said, Don McAllister created Screencasts Online at a time when it was something brand new. There really wasn't anything else of significance like it out there that wasn't fully commercial. And so Don grew it, improved it, did a lot of things over his tenure with it. Then he decided to step away and do a little more traveling, and you have picked it up. I'm anxious to find out just, how that came about and why you felt like you wanted to take on something like this, as you said, especially with a day job.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've been with Screencasts Online myself for, how long is it now? I think I've just had my 7-year anniversary. So I've been doing the video content for 7 years now. And Don, I've met Don a few times, and Don gave me a call, or he left me a voice message actually in the middle of 2023, basically saying, Lee, I could really do with a talk with you. Please get back to me as soon as you're ready. And because we didn't speak that much, I just thought, right, that's it. I'm out. Screencasts Online is gone. It's folding or something, ridiculous like that. But but no, when I spoke to him, he said, look, I've been sort of winding down over the course of the last few years, which he's done. We've got quite a big backroom team now. Obviously, we've got a full-time editor. We've got 5 different presenters now at Screencasts Online. Because as you say, Don did it on his own at the beginning. Everything was Don. He was like the one-man band for the whole thing. And now, obviously, we've got a full team of 10 people that currently provide the service. And yeah, he just reached the point where he said, look, I'm looking to almost completely step away. But I'd like someone to take it on that will kind of honor the traditions in which it was built. Ironically enough, Don has pretty much the same background as me. So he's been an IT professional for his whole career. He was a similar age to me when I bought Screencasts Online from him. We're both family people. We've both been in IT for exactly the same amount of time. So it just seemed a little bit poetic almost, and as though it was in the stars that I couldn't really turn this down. So he offered it to me, and I spoke to my wife. My wife said, well, after she stopped laughing, she said, well, that's not going to happen, is it? You're not going to be buying this. But, I wore her down slowly. And she decided that, this is something that you need to do, because I've been contracting as a project manager for the last 11 years. I enjoy it. It's really good. I'm an IT program manager at the moment. And the thing is, whilst I'm enjoying like the challenges that brings, it's nothing like the joy that I get from just picking up my Mac, just rolling out a video, getting feedback from people that say, I really like this. You've taught me how to use DevonThink. You've taught me how to use OmniFocus. You help influence how I work and how I do things. So to be able to actually drive Screencasts Online and try and get that to a bigger audience and to more people is something that I just couldn't really turn down. So yeah, that's basically where we are at this point. It's a bit of a balance. There's two jobs. It's hard to do. I have to be very, very strict and dedicated with my time management. But as I used to work as a productivity coach as well, I can finally start putting all of those skills that I learned then and taught to others into practice, which is good.
That sounds like that could be a whole nother show, and I'm going to stay away from that one.
Yes,
because
it could.
I feel like that's a conversation we need to have. But you mentioned it, and I really have come to respect it the way you've handled it. That you took something that was well established, and you've respected how it was done, but you've also grown it and changed it just a little bit and made it your own. And that's not an easy thing to do with something that is as well established and as successful as Screencasts Online was and is.
Yeah, it is. It's tricky because Screencasts Online has always been a bit of an institution. I mean, it's been around the same amount of time as YouTube. We're going into our 20th year this year. And, that doesn't happen if things aren't going well. So I took it on a high and it was in a really, really good position. However, I also wanted to try and somehow start thinking about how I could put my own stamp on things and try and just course correct a little bit, but not in a way that took it away from the foundations on which it was born. So Don has a very, very loyal user base. In fact, you could say that many of them aren't so much Screencast Online subscribers as they're Don McAllister subscribers, because they followed him on like his Mac Mania cruises and all of the podcasts that he used to do, way back in the day. And I wanted to make sure that I was able to understand them and support them and keep them as part of the Screencasts Online community. So one thing that I've tried to do is we've not increased the amount of shows that we do. So we deliver 2 shows a week. We do a smaller show on a Tuesday, and we do a larger between 30 minutes and 45 minutes usually on a Friday. And I don't want to overwhelm people by trying to produce more content than that, because they find it difficult to be able to keep up. And sometimes you can lose people. If you try and give too much, then that idea of, oh no, I don't know what to watch, I haven't got time to do this, I'll just can it, kind of takes effect. So what I've started to do is we've started to do a few more bits on YouTube now, so that people can just dive in and pick and choose what they'd like to be able to watch. And also what I've tried to do is I've tried to get a little bit more of a balance between videos that are operating system specific. So, how to use Finder, how to use Preview, all of the stock apps, as opposed to the new applications. Because when I took over, I did a little bit of a research on how many videos we produced a month that were dedicated to being new apps or upgrades to existing applications, and how many were actually helping you with the operating system. And it was about a 90% to 10% balance in favor of the new apps. And sometimes we'd lose members because they'd be saying, look, I'm not worried about these new apps on how to write a novel or how to do this and that. I just want to know how to use the operating system. So what I've done now is I've tried to redress that balance just a tiny bit. So 3/4 of the videos are going to be on, or a minimum of 3/4 of the videos are going to be on new applications, whereas I want to make sure at least 2 videos a month cover how to use your iPhone better and how to use your Mac better. And that's something that I think people have picked up on and they're enjoying. And even something as small as the newsletter. So we do a newsletter every Friday, and generally it used to be just like a summary of the videos that you could get to enjoy this week. But in the middle of last year, I just put a little section on the end, and it was just called Quick Tip. And basically every single week from then, I've just had a little quick tip on how you can use your device better. And it could be something as simple as, did you know that if you type a message on your iPhone and you double tap the space bar, then you get a period followed by a space automatically? And it would just be something as simple as that. But the feedback I've had just from that small change has been quite seismic. So that has stayed, and I'm going to look at more ways of being able to offer more value just from like a free newsletter, for example. So little things like that, but nothing drastic, because as I say, I didn't take over something that was broken. So I don't want to, overdent it.
So I want to be real clear on one thing before we go on. Do you mean that you published, or you are publishing videos to YouTube that aren't publicized or aren't part of the regular Screencasts Online, or are you
Absolutely.
publishing
It's
in both
something.
places?
No. So what we do is we have an extensive archive on Screencasts Online of around 1,450 videos, or in excess of that. So once those videos reach a certain age, I may go back and cherry pick some and start to put those for free on YouTube for people to be able to access. But in order to be able to release the amount of content that so Lee Garrett wants to be able to produce, what I'm doing is every now and then I'll just release like a little 10-minute video on YouTube that isn't part of the Screencasts Online archive. It's just part of the Screencasts Online YouTube channel. And the last one I did, for example, was how to create a typeface or a font for pages based on your own handwriting. That's not something that would probably fit in the Screencasts Online demographic for a video that would be part of your subscription. But I thought it was amazing that you could do that. I didn't know you could do that, and I wanted an outlet to put it out there. So I put it on the YouTube channel, and it's been well received. So what I try to do is, where we have to have a big balance on Screencasts Online of the type of videos we do, because we've got members that are developers, we've got members that are very new to the iPhone and need to have more of a basic level of video. What I want to do is try and expand the amount of content I can release and put some of it for free on YouTube, basically. It's an outlet for me to be a little bit more creative and kick the tires on some bits that maybe, I'm not too sure if they're going to work or not. So I'll just throw them out on YouTube and see what sticks.
So in order to stay fully informed about everything SCO is doing, you need to subscribe not just to the newsletter, but also to the YouTube channel. Which
because
I
also
like
on that
idea.
YouTube channel, we have previews as well from of all of the videos that we do as part of the Screencasts Online subscription. So those videos used to be just the first 3 or 5 minutes of a particular topic. But what we tended to find was those first 3 minutes could just be some preamble about what we're going to be doing in this particular video, showing you some pricing information, etc. And that didn't really, I felt, serve as a good enough preview as to what you were going to receive. So what we do now is if you've got a 45-minute video, we'll take like a 6-minute section of that video that actually shows you how to do a specific thing. And now we put that as part of the YouTube preview. So you can go in, you can see the preview on YouTube, and there are links there to obviously go to the main site and subscribe. So that's another change that we've done, which has been well received too.
Going back to, you're talking about the balance between operating system and new applications. How do you decide what to cover? The operating systems, it's just a matter of, there's so many things to cover there, but the new applications is a whole different thing, because there's so many that are coming out, and they don't have to be, like you said, the DevonThink application, but sometimes it's the little one-trick, two-trick ponies that are the most useful. How do you make the decision?
Well, the good thing is I don't make that decision solely on my own. So I've got an editor called JF who's got he's Max Sparky's editor as well. So he's very much got his finger on the pulse as to what the popular apps that are coming out are out there. Myself, I'm obviously subscribed to many Discord channels, and I'm part of beta testing groups. And I basically spend my evenings sort of, researching new apps and just having a look at ways I can improve my own personal workflows. But other presenters that we've got Alison Sheridan, who obviously you know very well. She's fantastic, because she'll say, "Hey Lee, I want to cover this particular app this week." She's just done 2 fantastic videos on applications by Sandre Sorhos that I think it's something like 8 apps that she covered in two videos. I didn't need to come up and research those. I've got Alison who will go away and do that as well. We've got Mike Schmitz, who's producing content for us. He's obviously, an Obsidian expert. So whenever there's a new topic he thinks would suit us for Obsidian, he'll just roll that out. And that's great. We've got Darcy Hegarty as well, who produces lots of content on more kind of creative apps that he uses in his day-to-day life. And what I try to do is, I won't do an application just on the basis that it's new, it's trendy, and I think it's something that people may tend to like. I try to cover things that actually I use, or I've had validated to me by people that I know and I like, that this is a good app that your members will like. So there is a lot of research. There's a lot of digging. There's a lot of testing. There's a lot of tire kicking on applications. But that's what I want to do, and that's what I want to have with my life, is basically just, playing with tech, playing with new things, seeing what sticks, and also sharing some of my workflows in the videos as well.
Right. Well, you've been responsible for introducing me to some apps that either I'd never heard of, or that maybe I had taken a passing glance at and thought, maybe sometime. And, then I see someone give them the ScreenCastsONLINE treatment, and it's like, okay, yeah, I really need to pay more attention to this app. So you're not only educating me, you're also helping discover things for me. And I as just a regular user, I really appreciate that, because there's so much stuff out there that is coming at you from every direction. And the answer to one of your productivity problems may have already been solved. You just haven't found it yet.
Yeah, that's true. It's that's where this balance between doing operating system stuff and doing app stuff is kind of tricky, because there are just so many apps that are flying at you all the time. Whereas the operating system bits, you kind of reach a ceiling where it's difficult to be able to cover anymore. Whereas you're never short of new applications that people want to learn about. However, what we want to try and do is make sure that if we do cover an app, we do that app justice. We go into it, we dive into it, we get as much from it as possible that we share out. And if we don't feel that we can give that particular application justice, then we don't cover it.
So we're coming into a time period here in the next month or so, at least in theory, when we're going to see the usual crop of OS updates hit. And I'm curious as to how you prioritize those, how you manage, because it's not just a matter of covering the next OS, which I believe is Tahoe, but also the components of it. And by the way, there's an iOS version coming, and there's a watch version coming, et cetera, et cetera. So do you give certain aspects of things a priority based on the feedback you've gotten from customers, or is it who can handle what? It has to be a complex equation.
It is difficult, and typically I'm going on vacation for a couple of weeks prior to when those OS releases come in. So I've actually been working on those over the course of the last month. So yeah, as soon as we get the like WWDCs done and out the way, I've got an Obsidian note set up that basically is split up into every single OS. So I've got a Tahoe section, I've got an iOS 26 section, iPadOS 26, tvOS, etc., working down. And basically, I will just have text in each of those sections that covers all of the new updates that are coming for them, like everything, absolutely every single little bit. So I think there's something like 120 different elements in the macOS one at the moment, which I'm going to start slowly filtering down and thinking, right, I'm not going to cover that bit because it might be too difficult to demonstrate, or I'm not going to cover that bit because it's only going to affect probably 2% of my audience that really don't care about that particular feature. So I will just try and shorten those down into probably the like 50% of the features that I think are going to have the most impact on our users. And then what I'll do is I'll release a macOS video first week of September, I think it is, or the second week, depending on when, obviously, the main version of macOS Tahoe gets released. And then I will save some of those other little bits that I've discounted for either YouTube shorts that I'll just pop out, or they can be some Tuesday tip videos moving forward that help me fill that sort of operating system quota that I want to try and meet. And then I'll do the same for iPadOS, iOS. And I will ask the team if do you have a particular desire to cover one of these? So Darcy normally does the watchOS videos. So if he's up for that this term, then we'll get that sent across to him. If not, I'll cover it myself. But yeah, that's generally what we do. We do have quite a thick structure when it comes to doing those OS videos, because they are by far and away the most popular ones that we do.
Today's Mac Voices is supported by Clean My Mac and the new Cloud Cleanup feature. Get tidy today. Try 7 days free and use the code MacVoices20 for 20% off at cleanmy.com/MacVoices. Cloud this, cloud that. Everyone has a cloud, but management of assets in those clouds has been sorely lacking until now. Introducing Cloud Cleanup from Clean My Mac, the smarter, safer way to reclaim space and sanity on your iCloud, OneDrive, and Google Drive. When your cloud storage is full, it's usually not because of anything exciting. It's forgotten downloads, duplicate folders, or giant files that you haven't touched in years. Cloud Cleanup connects directly to your accounts and scans for those hidden space wasters, both synced and unsynced, whether they're in the cloud or on your Mac. All scanning happens locally on your Mac, so your private data stays exactly that way, private. If you use Google Drive or OneDrive, just install and log into their desktop apps, and Cloud Cleanup does the rest. Once the scan's complete, you're in control. Remove files from your disk, remove them only from the cloud, or run a quick cleanup to instantly get gigabytes back. And if you ever change your mind, you can restore those files with a single click. Your cloud will feel lighter, faster, and almost infinite again. Get tidy today. Try Clean My Mac free for 7 days and use the code MacVoices20 for 20% off at cleanmy.com/MacVoices. That's CLNMY.com/MacVoices and 20% off with the code MacVoices20. Thanks to MacPaw and Cloud Cleanup for their support of MacVoices. The other thing I wanted to ask, and I said something at the top of the show about it, the quality of every single video by every single presenter is just outstanding. It's an amazing, it's a great investment of time for the application. If you have any interest in it at all, you're going to get paid back with the knowledge you can use. And to your point, you may not cover every single feature because that's just pretty much impossible.
Yeah.
But I know that a lot of it has to do with the presenters you have. But how do you maintain the level of quality that you do? Because that would be real easy to let slip for a dozen different reasons, and it never seems to with SEO.
We do have quite a strict editing regime that we go through. So if I talk for myself, as an example, I will, I've just finished a Clean My Mac video this morning, for example. It's just going to go into post-production, and within a few weeks, that one's going to be ready to release. But as I started doing that video, it's a 45-minute video. It certainly didn't take 45 minutes to do. I probably had about a week of research and, reusing the app again to be able to make sure that I understood exactly what the new additions were to it and why it's important to be able to use it before you upgrade your operating system, because I've tried to time it for when macOS Tahoe comes out. I think this video is going to come out the week before. And what I try and do is I try and make everything as situational as possible. So what I don't want to do is we don't want to give out like an instruction manual, because that's not really what people want to say. Like, okay, so do this, do this, do this, click here, you get this. That's not what we try and do. We try and make sure that there's like a story or a narrative or something behind there which helps to ensure that the members are engaged and they're getting some inspirations to how they may be able to use the application themselves. And then once that video goes in, it goes to JF, and then JF will sit there with a fine-tooth comb going, yeah, that bit's wrong, that bit's wrong. Yeah, we've got a bit of a cursor jump here. We don't want that. And then the video comes back. We do some more post-editing, and then it goes back to him. We have one member of the team that is just there to do testing and signing off. So all he does is he just watches the videos, makes notes of any further errors that maybe JF has missed out on, sends it back. We then redo it, post it back into final sign-off, and then the video gets released. So there is a very strict editing regime that goes through all the way through from idea conception as to what we're going to do through to actual releasing the job. And we just make sure that those standards are just kept, because if there's a problem in a video, members will tell us, and we don't want members telling us that.
Yeah. The audience you have is particularly critical in a positive way, I'm sure.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, if I get an email that comes through and says there's been a comment on this particular video, I'll sort of take a deep breath, brace myself and say, right, this is either going to be a thank you or this is going to be a what happened here. 9 times out of 10, it's a thank you. But every now and then there'll be one there where it's like, okay, right, let's make sure that doesn't happen again. Because, we're humans as well at the end of the day.
Well, the process you just described, Hollywood could probably learn some things from it. I can think of more than a few companies that could learn a few things from it as well.
Well, this comes from working as a project manager for like the last 10 to 15 years. Everything is just process. So it's not been very hard to actually just sort of slip that into. And to be fair, Don had this process set up himself. I've just had to keep it going. Don's very, very methodical. There are so many moving parts in the background of Screencasts Online. It really did surprise me. I thought it was going to be a lot simpler when I decided to take it. He then passed me across all of his craft documentation, and I still haven't finished reading it. And it's been, 18 months now? And I still haven't finished reading it all. There's so many systems there that could break.
Yeah, but again, that's what makes SEO work. Is that process and the I'm not ready to say obsession. That's probably not fair, but the focus. That's a better word. The focus on the quality, as opposed to, as you said earlier, the quantity.
I don't think obsession's too harsh a word for how I feel about it. It's okay. I'm very much. I try to get everything 100% how it needs to be when it goes out there. I prepare so much. Like the outlines I prepare for the videos are so methodical, whereas I'm very much in awe of Don, because Don can just go, all right, this application here, click record, and he'll just knock out a 45-minute video, and it's as though he's been doing it forever. Whereas if I'm going to click the record button, I've got a list of steps that I'm following to make sure that I've covered every single element that I think the audience needs to see. So hopefully I'll get to Don's, status at some point where I can just click record, don't worry about it, go home and spend time with the kids. But at the moment, no, mine's a little bit more detailed than that.
It's just like everything else. The more you practice, the better you get, the faster you get, the easier it becomes.
100% correct. Yeah. Absolutely.
Nobody wants to hear that, but it's true on everything that you do.
It is. But it's a good lesson. My kids do learn a lot from me with that. I've got 3 girls, and they see how hard I work, and they see, how much I put into everything, and I see them copying. So, that's a good thing. I'm not going to stop yet.
No, that's great. And it's great that you're able to pass that down by example, as opposed to by lecturing about it. They see you doing it, and so that's the way that it should be done.
Absolutely.
That's great. So this is something that if you were from Apple, you would not tell me, but do you have anything that you can talk about with what you want to do with the future of SEO? And because it sounds like quantity is not necessarily in the wings, which I kind of applaud you for the reasons you outlined. But what else do you see SEO growing into?
So what I would like to do at some point, once I've been able to actually drop the day job, because dropping the day job is something that I'm definitely looking at, and then be able to really throw myself, not so much full-time, because I'm full-time doing Screencasts Online anyway, but I can be like double full-time going in on it. But I would like to have some more sort of focused, like courses that are released on a given subject. So like a proper Devon Think course. I love Devon Think to pieces, so I'd love to be able to have like the facility to be able to have like a paid Devon Think course on the site, and I'd like to be able to start having like a stream perhaps that is just focused on developers, that kind of is a little bit of a tier away from sort of like the new starters with Apple that I know a lot of our members are, because one of the difficulties we have when we're trying to choose content is trying to get something that suits everybody, because we have such a wide range of skills and user bases in the membership at the moment. So at the minute, if I'm doing a video on, say, Good Links, which is, it's a wonderful read it later application. I use it all the time for keeping my bookmarks. It's quite an easy app to use, but I wanted to try and add something a little bit extra. So I'm throwing in some like shortcut videos and things like that on the top of it. This is how you can use Good Links with shortcuts. I'm starting to try and do a few more scripting videos, but without scaring like the less experienced members that we have. But if I could have like some separate tiers whereby I can actually sort of let loose some of the shackles and go a bit more nuts with some of the way more advanced stuff, that's something that I'm kind of thinking about how that could work like in the next year to 18 months. I'm not saying that's something that's going to happen, but it's something that's kind of at the top of the back burner that I've got at the moment.
I love those ideas, because each one of them, well, you've brought up Devon Think, and I'm like you. Devon Think is a phenomenal program. I know I don't take nearly as much advantage of as I could. And that's sort of the thing, one of the challenges I would think for you, because we talked a little bit earlier about some of the one-offs, the one-trick ponies that they do one thing, they do it very well, but that's all they do. Then you get into the Devon Thinks, the Photoshops, some of those that do so many things that you almost need, a college course to get everything out of them. And so the idea of you creating something that is a bit more focused and a bit more in depth on some of those kind of programs is extremely compelling, at least to me.
Yeah, DevonThink. I've just finished last week. I've just finished the DevonThink 4 update video, which is due to come out not this Friday, but the Friday afterwards. And that was an absolute joy to do. Not just because I love DevonThink, but because where I was speaking earlier about how it's important to try and have a narrative and like a situation around why the members would like to use this app, I was able to conjure up these little scenarios and inject them into the video. So it's definitely not like a user manual, like, you have to next finish to do this thing, because it's so AI dependent, like the new DevonThink updates that are there. The world was my oyster with regards to, right, how am I going to sell this to the members? So one thing I've done, so a little peek behind the curtain for next Friday's video, is I got ChatGPT to be able to make up this meeting transcript of what would happen if Teams was available when the Beatles were recording their first album, and they were having like their first meeting as to what content was going to be in there. So I got ChatGPT to create that, and then I popped that into DevonThink, and then we used DevonThink to be able to read through this particular meeting with John, Paul, George, and Ringo. And ChatGPT had done a great job of like ascertaining what their personalities would be and how they would speak. And I was just able to put some like personality in that video and just make it fun. And it's applications like DevonThink are an absolute joy to do because they're so creative, and because it's not a manual that you're creating. It's so easy to be able to. It's a lot easier than you would think to do a DevonThink video than it is to do something that's functional, like Clean My Mac today. Clean My Mac. It's quite an easy video to do, but it seemed very processional in how I was recording it, because you can't have a situation behind it. It's right, you need to do this in order to keep your Mac clean. Like, that's it. Whereas something like DevonThink, you can use it for so many different purposes and so many reasons. It's a wonderful app to cover. I love DevonThink, just in case you hadn't gathered that. It's a wonderful app. And I loved your interviews with Joe as well. I watched both of those, and they were really, really good to see. So,
well, thank you. I appreciate that, and I know Joe would. Yeah. And it sort of points out one other thing that I would like to mention to the audience, that I get to talk to Joe Kissel about the Take Control books. I get to talk to Lee about ScreenCastsONLINE, because Joe produces not a written page anymore, but a text-based training. You produce a video-based training. There's so many people that learn different ways. Some people can't read and absorb it. They have to watch a video. Other people, the video is great, but they really want to dig into, more of a, not exactly a reference kind of thing, but something along those lines. So these are two amazing resources that you and Joe have made available to us. And on behalf of everybody out there that uses one, the other, or both, thank you for all your efforts.
No, it's absolute. I can genuinely say it is an absolute pleasure to do. It's certainly the best job I've had. I've had some great jobs in my life, but yeah, this is the one that I definitely enjoy the most. I certainly don't want to stop yet. So thank you. It does mean a lot.
Well, it means a lot to all of us. So please don't stop. Don't stop. But one last thing I did want to comment, because you used an interesting phrase there about how to sell your members on DevonThink. And I do think that's a challenge at times, that sometimes I see some other folks trying to do things and they get a little bit hung up on how to do it as opposed to why to do it. And I feel like SCO does a really nice job of early in the videos of kind of explaining why I might want to do this if I don't already know why I would want to pay attention. And that's not an easy thing to accomplish.
No, and I'm pleased that you've picked up on that, because one of the first things that I tried to emphasize when I took over and spoke with Alison and Mike and Darcy, etc., is when we're opening our content, we've got to let the members know why they should actually carry on, because this is half hour of their lives. We're all contented people. You know, why do they need to spend that time watching this particular video and learning this application? Because it's that hook, isn't it? If you don't get that hook in at the beginning and say, right, this is why you need to invest this time in us, they're going to go in 2 minutes and then they're going to be out. And it could well be that they're out and then they don't come back to watch another video again. You've got to put that hook in and at least let them know this is why you need to learn it. And then if it's not something that's suitable for them, give them that time back, and then they can wait for the next video, which may be one that absolutely suits them, because not all of the videos are going to be able to suit every single person. That's impossible. We may be able to cover 80% of somebody's likes, but by and large, a lot of the members, they'll come in and there'll be 2 or 3 videos that they'll watch a month that they think these are for me, but the other 5, they aren't. But those 3 are still worth, obviously, the subscription money that they pay. So yeah, no, I'm pleased that you picked up on that.
Lee, I felt like coming into this, I knew a lot about SEO. I've learned a lot more. Anything I haven't asked you that you would like to talk about, or that the viewers and listeners should know about, whether they are familiar with SEO or not?
Well, I think we've covered actually quite a lot, but it's, as I say, it's our 20th anniversary this year. It's actually our 20th anniversary this month, because I think it was August 2005 that Don actually founded and the first video came out. So in that time, with come rain or shine, come COVID, come whatever's been occurring in the world, we've always released that same dedicated content twice a week. We're a very service orientated company. We always put our members first. If ever anybody has any issues at all, it's very easy to get hold of me personally to be able to, try and get some advice on whether it's an advice on an app, whether it's advice on your membership. I'm generally pretty approachable. The newsletter, sometimes people would just reply to me directly on that newsletter and ask me a question about the topic. You'll always get a response. You may not get a response the same day, but you'll always get something back. I just want to make sure that people understand Screencasts Online, whilst it's an institution, it's very much a family and personal based sort of company. And it's always going to continue to be that way, as long as I'm in charge anyway.
That's the perfect way to wrap this.
Thank you.
Website, of course, is
ScreenCastsOnline.com. Easy
enough. Lee, it's a real pleasure.
It is indeed.
Yes. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I have an idea that our swords will cross again soon, because I think I want to dig into your productivity methods a bit, but we'll save that for another time.
You're welcome. Okay, no problem. Thanks ever so much, Chuck.
Have
a great rest of the day.
You as well. Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices. Screencasts Online is where you want to go for some of the very best video training on Mac. Anything Apple related, it's there. And with as many videos as Lee said he's produced and is producing more, you're bound to find a gold mine of material for you to learn. Until the next time, and as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.